welcome once again, Lisa. I'm so excited about this conversation.
Thanks, Michelle.
So I know that this topic, like I mentioned already, is a really hot topic for so many women out there because I think there's a perception, and I know you come across this as well when working with your clients and the people that you have conversations with, that there is not so much opportunity for women for romance after 50. There's a preconception that these men want only younger women or that they're not going to be noticed. So first of all, I wonder if you can tell us, before we go into all of this, a little bit about your own story about finding love after 50, because I think that would be very hopeful for a lot of women to hear. Mm-hmm. And then I'd love for you to just talk about some of the common challenges, experiences, and perceptions that women after 50 have, and see if we can dispel some of these myths or offer some support.
So I guess what really got me involved in this was when my first marriage ended. I went online. I was in my mid-40s. I didn't know what I was doing, but I ended up meeting a man. We were together 2.5 years. It was the wrong man for me because he had what I call high-value qualities. He looked at me with these gaga movie star eyes, and it was like, wow, I'd never had anyone do that. But when the relationship ended, he said to me, Lisa, you don't know how to let a man be a man. And I thought, he's crazy, because I always got along really well with men. And about 1.5 years later, I met my second husband. And a lot of times we get into second marriages based on what was missing in our first marriage. So what happens is it's almost like this single focus. Oh, I got to get what I was missing. And you miss so many other pieces that these marriages, these second marriages, end really quickly for a lot of people. Not everyone, but for a lot of people, because you marry for the wrong reasons. Well, again, I heard those words, Lisa, you don't know how to let a man be a man. And I thought, uh-oh, this is the second time I've heard this. Something is not right here. So I went looking for a coach myself, but they were all in their 20s and 30s at the time, and I was 50. And I thought, oh my God, they're not going to know what it's like to be 50 and date and what the perils are and what the good things are. And I called my sister in tears and I said, I'm never going to be in a relationship again. There's just no way I'm going to be, because I don't know what I'm doing. And she said, oh my God, you are the most resourceful person I know. Just start researching. So that's what I did. And then I began experimenting. And then I found what worked in over 50s dating and what didn't. And my friend said, what are you doing? We can't get a date. And my married friends would say, you're like the only person I know that can always have a guy in your life. And it was because everything I was learning, I was putting to use. And I gave my friends some tips, and they had dates. They started getting dates. And then I noticed a statistic that talked about how many people are ending marriages in their 40s and 50s. And I thought, oh my God, I was so miserable when I was dating in the beginning, not once I knew what I was doing, that I just didn't want to see another woman suffer. And that's how I got findaqualityman.com started. And then with everything I used, I was able to find love again. So that is my story.
Yeah, and I love that, Lisa, because I think many of us that have found our way to this work have found it at least somewhat through our own struggles, through our own journey. I know that's true for me, having become a first-time bride at age 43 after my own long and winding journey to love. And I do think there are some differences in dating, no doubt, in your 20s, 30s, even 40s, as opposed to dating in your 50s and 60s. And I wonder if you can share some of the things you've discovered, some of the things that you've learned that you think would be most valuable for the women here to hear and that might be most helpful. And then also, I do want to make sure we swing back around to this theme that you mentioned that came up where you got this feedback from these men that said, you don't know how to be you don't know how to let a man be a man. Because I think that also is a common theme for those of us that have grown in our strength, independence, autonomy as women, and perhaps have taken that in a direction that is not always as compatible as we'd like to be in our dating relationships.
True. All right, we'll swing back to that. So the difference is, though, dating in your 50s and 60s versus in your 40s and younger. When you're dating at a younger age, you're actually on the search for someone that you can have babies with. And that's really how we look at it. It comes back from our DNA, where we had to look for men we were attracted to, the babies could be made, and would be strong. We wouldn't have gone for a wimpy guy back then because we would not have survived. Our babies wouldn't have survived. But that is kind of how we look for men still. And in your 50s and 60s, it's a big problem. A lot of people say, I have to have instant attraction. I have to have chemistry. Men have to have instant attraction. For women, attraction can come over time as we get to know someone's personality. For example, I was with a man. We went on 4 dates. The first 3, I'm going, what am I doing here? And then that morning of the 4th date, I said, I don't think we're a fit. And all of a sudden, this man stepped up and started fighting for me. And it was like, wow, I started to feel sparks of attraction really happening. And at the table, we were having lunch, and he reached across the table and he touched my face. And it's like a bell went off, like ding, 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 ding. That's when the chemistry started. So a lot of people knock out men because that chemistry and that attraction is not there immediately. And it's hard to have sometimes on a first date. Our personalities make a big difference in how we come across, and we can be really stilted on a first date.
Mm-hmm.
Know what I mean?
Yeah, and nerves.
That's right. So we're not looking to reproduce at these ages. Most women are either in the process of going through menopause or have gone through menopause, but they're dating as if they still were going to bear babies. And one of the reasons that women have, when they see that men are looking for women that are younger, men can procreate their entire life.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes they will start going back towards that, like the woman with the shiniest hair. That used to be a signal for men that this was a healthy woman who could have his babies. So men kind of get caught up in this caveman DNA stuff like we do. But a lot of men will try out women who are younger. But what happens is they find they do not have a history with them. And younger women in their 20s and 30s, that's like dating their father. And if you think back when you were young, would you have wanted to date a man who's 50? That seems young now, since we're here, but you wouldn't have wanted to do that.
No.
Yeah, it would have seemed old. So if it's a really younger woman, the man has to either have a lot of power or a lot of money, and those usually go hand in hand. Otherwise, they really don't. These women don't give them the time of day. And they come back and they find, oh my God, the women my age are really much more interesting than I ever thought they were.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a big thing to do. The other thing is you want to find a man who can emotionally support you at this time in your life. A lot happens in your later 40s, 50s, and 60s. Parents are lost, children leave and give you an empty nest. Sometimes that's happened earlier. Just different crisis in your life. You're ending a job, or you're starting a new job, or whatever it is. You need to look for someone that is really going to be there to emotionally support you. A lot of women can financially support themselves now. And even though they're looking for someone who has as much money or more money than them, the real criteria is, can they emotionally be there for you? Because that's really what we want. At the end of the day, if we've had a bad day, we want someone to maybe give us a glass of wine, rub our feet, and hug us. Or when we had a great day, we want them to give us a glass of wine and hug us and be our best cheerleader. Maybe still even the foot rub.
Yeah, and I just want to piggyback on something you said here, Lisa, because I love your example that you gave of the man that you weren't really feeling an attraction to until like that fourth date when he kind of started fighting for you and reached across the table and touched your face. I think that it's really important to remember that we're not saying that attraction is not important, but we are saying that attraction sometimes can grow. And it doesn't always start with that immediate, like, I want to jump his bones kind of chemistry that we might have felt in some of our younger years. And I've had many clients in their 50s and beyond that have met someone who is showing up as a high quality man, but he's not their type, so to speak. For example, one of my clients met a man online and he was a little thinner than what she envisioned that she might like. But he was showing up as a really high quality man, and I encouraged her to keep seeing him. They're now engaged. They're building a house together in their 60s. They're starting this whole new life together, and she is so thrilled and has written me so many times saying, and to think I might have passed this all by. And I think that it's just really important to remember that chemistry doesn't always equal compatibility. There's nothing that makes up for what you were talking about, Lisa, someone that is going to show up for you on a consistent basis. No matter how good they look, if they're not someone that's going to be there for you on a day-to-day basis, it doesn't matter how good they look in the long run. And most people's looks, men and women, tend to fade over time, right? So we're left with the core essence of who that person is.
For sure. For sure. And one of the most interesting things is when we were younger, we gave people a chance. Like, I remember my first husband, we were married 24 years. We were in college. The first time we met, he was holding this cat. I was a little sis of the fraternity, and he was in the fraternity. And at that time, I thought, cats. I went, oh, you have a cat. And he was like so turned off by that. And then later in the year, we got fixed up. And then, things kind of changed. But it's not like on that first date, I said, I'm going to marry this guy. Not by any means. I thought, I had a fun time. It'd be nice to go out with him again. And we sort of need to bring that part back from our youth of, giving men a chance, hang out with them, because you can fall in love with them over time as you get to know them. A guy that's not instantly cute when you meet him can turn out to be the most gorgeous person in the world to you as you get to know him. Mm-hmm. I'm sure you've heard that too from clients. And friends, they go, oh, my husband's so cute. And you go, really? Because to them, he's become really cute because they fell in love.
Yeah, because of their heart and character qualities of who they actually are. And I believe, Lisa, that for most women, in order to really fall in love with a man, and we're talking about beyond the chemistry piece here, and then especially to stay in love with a man, she needs to be able to respect him. And especially for mature women. And I think that in order to respect a man, you have to appreciate and you have to admire who he really is from a heart and character standpoint. And I know in the case of my own husband, who, by the way, is 5 years younger than I am, I initially was attracted to him, but I wouldn't say he was the most gorgeous, physically person that I'd ever dated. But to me now, of course, I think he's the most adorable, handsome man on the planet. To someone else, like you just said, he might not appear that way. But because of who he is, I find him just irresistible. I just think he's adorable.
Yeah, that's how it works. One of the things when I work with clients that I do is we create what I call a quality man template together. And it helps them really see what's going to make them happy, because so many people go on a date. They're looking for a guy that might bike ride because they bike ride, or they're looking at a guy who has money, or a guy who looks a certain way. Those are not what's ultimately going to make you happy. What's ultimately going to make you happy is how you feel around the man, and that you share the same values, and that you don't settle by going through your deal breakers. I think one of the hardest things for people, women over 50, is we think, I'll never get another guy, so I better settle. And they break through their deal breakers. I had a client come back to me after we created her deal breakers in her quality man template, and she met a guy and he was so nice, but he had this big deal breaker. And I said, well, before you walk through this, are you sure that you don't feel you're settling if you break through something that means this much to you? Because a deal breaker should be something non-negotiable that you just cannot tolerate. And she said to me, I'll be okay. Well, a week later, she came back and she said, it's going back on my deal breaker list. So we have to be really careful. We can't change men. They are who they are. They don't want to be our pet projects. And don't bend yourself like a pretzel to be with someone. There are always men out there that will want to date you. We think of ourselves as young still, and we look in the mirror and we see ourselves as we saw ourselves young, and we see our friends young because they've aged with us. And we go online, and what happens? We see our grandfathers or our fathers on there. And men have the same problem. So we go online, we're seeing these older people, and we get really turned off by their appearance. It's really important to have great pictures when you're over 50 and 60. Men will look at pictures of women all ages, and it is your picture that's going to draw him in. So some of my clients have done professional pictures. It's really made a difference for them. They know how to light you so that you look great. They know what to do position-wise, posing you to look great. And that's really, really important. Is if you want to find love online, is to have a fantastic picture, close up and far away, because you can't change how men think about you. They're going to accept you or they're not. And this is your power too. You're either going to accept them or you're not. And start by having great pictures, and it'll get you more results. I have a 63-year-old client. She gets contacted all the time because her pictures are great.
Yeah, I think that's such an important point, Lisa. Several of the things that you're saying there. And I think sometimes we have this perception as women in our 50s, 60s, or beyond that we might be competing with these younger women. But the right guy is going to see you and is going to be attracted to you for who you are. So I encourage women also, like you just said, to put the absolute best version of yourself out there, but to make it be a contemporary photo of yourself, not something 10 years ago, wishing back for, a few less wrinkles or a few less pounds. But the most flattering version out there, and be proud of who you are and what you've accomplished, and that you've been through this much of life, and that you've had this much learning experience. And don't lie about your age, because I believe the right man is going to be attracted to you for who you are. I married a man younger than I am, and he could have married a younger woman, but he was attracted to me for who I am. Now, I realize I was in my 40s, but even still, the principle applies. And yes, for a few years, I worked in public relations and did a lot of press releases. And we always talked to our clients about how important it was to have a visual representation of what they were talking about in the press release to capture people's attention. And then the second most important thing was the headline, or in this case, maybe like your opening line or username on the site. Because if you don't capture the attention there doesn't matter how great the rest of your profile is, you're not going to capture that man's attention.
Right. You have 10 seconds to capture a man's attention online. Mm-hmm. And if you don't have a good picture, it's not going to work. I have male friends who show me some of the pictures and some of the profiles that women put on there, and they really defeat themselves because a lot of times they don't smile. They have on clothing that men visualize their aunts wearing. And, I hate to say it, but the little cardigan sweaters that come to about here and scarves, these men, they look at those and they go, that's like what my aunt would wear. And they need to visualize you as someone, like you mentioned, contemporary, up to date with it. Now, that being said, men out there love women of all shapes and sizes. They can't look at your picture and say, I wonder what she looked like in her 20s. They don't do that. They either like you how you are today or they don't, just like you like them how they are today. Or you don't. So it's really important, like you said, Michelle, to be honest, put the best picture out there and have fun. Free dating sites are a great place for women in their 50s and 60s because at the beginning, it can boost your confidence. If you have good pictures, men are going to write. If you have bad pictures, you're going to get frustrated. That's a huge thing. It's not about age. It's just about your pictures aren't good. Because younger women without good pictures have the same problem.
Yeah, that's so true. So I do want to swing back to this theme that you brought up earlier in this conversation, because I think it's so important and so relevant, particularly for accomplished, successful women over 50. This feedback that you said you got from these two men where they said, Lisa, you don't know how to let a man be a man. So tell us a little bit more about that. And I know there's some wonderful things you teach around this that I think would be really valuable to our audience.
Thanks, Michelle. I'd be happy to. I love helping women understand men because I emasculated men like it was my job. They were absolutely right. I did not let them be men. Some of that comes from we were brought up at a time where we were taught masculine skills to get ahead of everybody. We were taught to step on people, to come into our masculine side, to be powerful and in control from a masculine place. So what happened is I took that on. I loved it. I embodied that. I was like, I am woman, let me roar, and I'm going to do it all. And poo-poo to you if you don't get it. And the thing is, I didn't take into consideration a man's feelings. I think one of the things we were never taught was men need to feel needed. Now, they don't want you to be needy because that's clinging and hanging on to someone. They want you to need them to keep you safe, protected, and provided for. When a man goes out and mows your grass, that is better than when he says the words, I love you. Because men's actions speak louder than their words. Words are easy. When a man steps up and helps you out, he truly is saying, I love you. So one of the hardest things for us is we don't truly need men. We are pretty strong. We've become strong. We're powerful. And men sense that. And that's some of the reason, too, men might turn to younger women because they sense you don't need them. So you have to come into a place in your own head of, why do I need a man? And that's really important. So many women say, I want a man. Yeah, we all want whatever. But you need to have a place of, why do I need a man? It could be as simple as, I need someone to snuggle with me at night, or I need someone to reach up to the top shelf and get those platters for the holidays I can't reach. That's what men like doing for you. And that's a huge thing. We were not taught that.
Yeah, we were not taught that. And I think a lot of it comes from, in many cases, necessity. I didn't marry until I was 43 for the first time. So I had to be strong and independent, self-sufficient. I was supporting myself. I was doing everything for myself. And so it almost became like a badge of honor. And I think it does for a lot of women become a badge of honor. And so it's almost like a learned skill for us to learn how to graciously receive the gifts that a man has to offer. And I really love what you just said there, Lisa, about how a man speaks his love, not only in words, but even more so in his actions. Because men, one of the things I've learned about men is they're very efficient in how they use their energy. For the most part, we're speaking in general terms here, and they're not going to invest their energy into a woman and caring for her and doing nice things for her and supporting her and being there for her unless he deeply cares for her.
Right. That's very true. Well, also another thing that happens with this, I went back to my first husband and I said to him, did I emasculate you when we were together? Because I was like curious about this. This was after I learned about men. I didn't go back to him till then. And he said to me, no, I never would have let you. What he was really saying though was we had created roles. One of the things is we think we want to be equal with men. In many ways, yes, equal pay, things like that. But we are not wired to be equal in the ways of 2 + 2 = 4 every time. We're an equal because our strength is our heart. A man is an equal because his strength is his head. And in that first marriage, when we came together so young, we created the roles that each of us were strong at, and we followed those. But when we go on our own for a long time, we're doing both roles, and it is hard to back down a little bit. But the thing is if you don't allow a man to help you or to do his job for you, you're actually training a man to do nothing for you. When women say, oh, he never does a thing for me, either you've criticized him too much and he figures I can't make you happy, so I'm not doing anything, or you taught him to stop giving. Michelle, you said it very well. We need to learn to receive from men. And it just makes your life easier. I think when you have a man that you allow him to be a man, he's really a joy. I mean, he really does want to make you happy. That is if he's an emotionally healthy man. So, and not all of us attract emotionally healthy men because of various reasons, which is too involved to go into on this call. But I work with clients on this all the time at looking at who they attract, why they attract them, because oftentimes we don't attract a man who will make us happy because we're role playing something we need to heal in past relationships. So the importance is allowing a man to be a man. We want men to accept us as women, yet we don't understand men's roles, and therefore we don't let them be men. And that's when they feel emasculated.
Mm-hmm.
And men also, one of the other things that, until I started doing that research, when I was crying to my sister, that I never realized about men, was they want you to trust them. So let's say they're taking you somewhere in the car and they're going one way and you go, oh, I think you should go the other way. And what you're actually doing is second guessing them. You're going to get there maybe 5 minutes faster. And I was really guilty of this. You're going to get there 5 minutes faster. But what you're really saying to him is, I doubt your ability to keep me safe, protected, and provided for. That's what they're hearing. Even though what you're saying is, I know a faster route. Mm-hmm. They feel like you doubt them. And men don't like or don't want to be seen as weak by women. They want to be seen as strong in your eyes, which goes back to the respect you talked about. If you can't respect a man, don't be with him. Find someone else. Because a man knows when you don't respect him. And then again, it comes to that place of, I can never make you happy. And that's what they'll say, and they'll leave. They'll be done. And you should be too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that was really beautifully said, Lisa, and I really appreciate you sharing that. I think it's almost impossible to overemphasize how important it is for a masculine man to feel competent. And we as women, one of the really beautiful skills we can learn when we learn to graciously ask and receive from a man, whether it be his advice or having him do something for us and then expressing our appreciation, one of the things that we can do for a man is allow him to feel that masculine energy, which in part is one of the reasons that he develops romantic feelings and wants to, provide, protect in those ways that he can for any woman of any age. But when we often unintentionally squelch those natural capacities or desires that they might have by saying, I got it, or not, kind of being instructive in how we approach men, we can take away their motivation to do that without even realizing it. And this becomes especially pronounced after we have been on our own and have had to be so strong and independent for so long. So it's just a really great awareness, and I think you've talked about it in a really beautiful and inspiring way.
Well, thank you. If I can add to that too, it's about allowing yourself to be vulnerable. The biggest thing a man is drawn to with you is your heart, like I mentioned before, how you feel about things. So many of us as women, because of being in the workplace and having to be so strong, have intellectualized everything. And another man, they can go up against intellectually. It's not that they don't like your intelligence, they do. But what they're really yearning for first is that heart connection to you. Because when they feel your vulnerability, when they feel they can keep you protected and you appreciate them, that's when they feel safe to share whatever's bothering them about their day or whatever's going on. It's that vulnerability. Like I have a lot of clients that say to me, I'm looking for a man I can have great conversations with. And I'll say share this with them about the first place. If you want that, you've got to get into vulnerability with them. Later on, you can have these great intellectual conversations. But if you go on a date from your mind and not your heart, you're not getting that second date. So can I give you an example of that, how that happens? I can remember when I was dating in my early 50s and I was learning this, and I saw a man contacted me online, and it was when I was first starting my business, and I was so excited because he had something to do with computers. I can't even remember what it was. And we get on the phone and I start asking him all these questions and talking this computer talk. Well, what I did was I put myself in the friend zone because I did not come from my heart. I came from a place of intelligence, and I was not asked out because of that. It was a great lesson to learn. Men don't want to compete with you. They want to keep you safe, protected, and provided for. And you don't want a man to compete with you, because when a man competes, he plays to win. Mm-hmm. That's what happens.
Right. So it puts you in the friend zone, or it puts you in the professional relationship kind of zone, rather than creating that capacity for a romantic relationship to develop. Yeah. That's a great example, and I'm really glad you brought that up. And I know you and I could talk about this all day, because I know we're really passionate about it, and it's something we both work with our clients on so frequently. And we've both developed a great awareness around this for ourselves as well, and we're continually learning. That's one of the wonderful things about relationships, is they provide us with an opportunity to continually learn and grow. And so Lisa and I both want to compliment each of you for being here with us, because just the fact that you're here and that you're continuing to learn and grow and to seek to capture even some of these nuances that can help you to be more successful in your relationships puts you many steps ahead of where many women are, because many women are not investing in themselves in this way. So Lisa, I want to give you an opportunity before we wrap up to just give us kind of a last thought or last piece of inspiration or wisdom?
I think the biggest thing is dating at this time in your life. You have so many more choices than you really did younger. We have these blinders on. We think we can only date one type of man, or we can only or we can only be on one website, or online dating doesn't work. We often have limiting beliefs that keep us from actually realizing how many opportunities you have. But you do, because when you were younger, you were mating for children. But today, you can have a guy as a friend. You can have him as a lover. You can have him as a boyfriend. You can have him as a husband. These are so many more choices and options. Not everybody's going to fit in the husband category or the boyfriend category. But one of the greatest things you can do is make friends with men you're not romantically interested in, because hanging out with male energy all the time is fun. It's awesome. It gives you a chance to practice your girly girl skills, and they'll tell you honestly what they think, because neither of you are invested in a love relationship, and you can be a lot more honest about what's going on. So that would be the biggest thing, is recognize the choices and the opportunities you have, date different types of men, and just have fun figuring out where you want men to fit in your life.
I love that perspective. I always believe there's possibility beyond what our eyes can see in any given moment. So I love that you painted that picture of possibility for the women here, and really appreciate what you've shared today. Thank you again, Lisa. Lots of love to you.
Thank you, Michelle.
Bye-bye for now.